Do I go out and try to guard this kid?
And a rejection. Thunder trying to create numbers here. Giddy galloping ahead. Holmgren.
These are Chet Holmgren's stats in the last 16 games. 18.1 points, 8 rebounds, 2.5 blocks on 56.4% shooting from the field, 43.8% from the three, and 88.1% from the foul line. I mean, even before the season started, almost everyone had already locked up Victor Wembanyama as their consensus Rookie of the Year. But the thing is, they forget about Chet Holmgren, and so far this season, he's making a huge statement by dominating on both ends with his sheer frame and tremendous versatility. In this film session, I'm going to break down Chet Holmgren's game to the core, and reveal why this 21-year-old unicorn is something special. Now, let's first talk about the obvious, which is his massive size and length. Standing at 7'1", Holmgren has the height of an average NBA center, and his 7'6" wingspan is a difference maker on the defensive end as it can alter and block a ton of shots. But see, here's where it gets tricky. Although he has the body of a modern-day big man, Holmgren's versatility on the front court allows him to seamlessly switch roles from playing as a traditional back-to-the-basket center to a stretch four, depending on the lineup that he's playing with. If you closely follow their games, you'll notice that the Thunder have some spurts where they would deploy this small ball lineup with J-Dub playing the 4, and Cason Wallace slotted as the small forward. And since there's no legit big in this lineup, Holmgren would assert himself inside and attack the mismatch just like what he did here against the 6'3" Steph Curry. But when there's a traditional big playing along with him, or someone penetrates inside and draws attention, Holmgren can become a jumbo floor spacer who can knock down shots on kickouts or emergency passes. Well, as I mentioned earlier, Holmgren is a towering sniper as he shoots just a tick below 44% from range so far this season, and this is one area of his game that truly sets him apart from other unicorns who have yet to develop a consistent outside shooting. His ability to stretch the floor is crucial not just because he's the best shooting big for the Thunder, but because it also draws out the opposing bigs away from the hoop, which allows lane penetrators like SGA to drive and operate inside without any intervention. Larry Nance knew that they were in trouble here with SGA backing down the rookie Jordan Hawkins at the low block, but as much as he wanted to help, he couldn't do so since he couldn't just leave Holmgren out in the open. And so, SGA took advantage of the situation and just ate Hawkins alive inside. Now, when the opposing big does show up and help, SGA would simply make him pay by spraying it out to Holmgren. And at 44% with nobody around to contest, Chet would most likely sink these wide-open threes. And here's where it gets tougher on guarding Holmgren. When the opposing big tries to step out of the shaded lane and close out on him, Holmgren has this quick burst to blow by them. And because his strides are bigger than the average person's, he can get to the rim with just 2 giant steps, which is a huge problem for the interior defense since they'll have no time to adjust and react. Apart from being a huge headache as a stretch big, Holmgren also uses his tools and unique in-and-out skill set to deal damage on ball screen actions. As a rim roller, Holmgren can simply finish above the rim using his athleticism on standard pick-and-roll sets. In this set piece though, Holmgren slips out to pop the moment he notices that Drummond hedges on SGA then quickly finds Holmgren on the wing. And because of the separation that he created, the much slower Drummond has no chance of closing out as Holmgren splashes this one through. Now if the defense switches and the smaller guards pick him up, the result would be pretty much the same, since there's no way the guards would block or even bother his shot because he's 7'1" with a high shot release. Again, in this pick-and-slip action, Holmgren made the right read, but instead of popping out, he dived inside for the easy lay-in. And since he can punish you from inside and out, his defenders have a hard time guessing what he's gonna do next. So as you see here, Looney thought that Holmgren would take a jump shot. However, Holmgren fakes him out of his socks and then just walks inside the paint for an easy finish. Across 16 games, Holmgren is quite efficient in pick-and-roll situations, as he registered 1.31 points per possession, with a scoring frequency of 58.3% on 51.3% shooting. Anyway, Holmgren is not only able to score coming off a pass, because so far this season, he's showcasing his full arsenal with his ability to drop buckets on ISO situations and clearouts. So here's Chet, Going up against the much smaller Matt Ryan, after a couple of hesitation, Holmgren explodes to his left before spinning the other way around and laying it in. I'm really surprised that he's this coordinated and managed to have smooth footwork despite coming off a foot injury. And here, he just attacks Wiggins, then puts a couple of up and under moves on him before finishing all the way through. And in this play against Jarrett Allen, he just went Kyrie on him, then pulled back and dropped a 1-foot fader on his head, as if he was Kobe or Dirk. Now, since we already covered his offense game, let's switch gears and talk about his defensive capabilities, which I believe is the biggest part of his game. As I mentioned earlier, his 7'6" wingspan is the main key to why he's averaging 2.5 blocks as of this recording. And if you combine that with his 27-inch vertical and raw athleticism, Holmgren acts as if he's an impenetrable wall with which no one can get through. I mean, the combination of his length and hops is quite effective, especially against the athletic high flyers in the league. Here's Dyson Daniels with full steam ahead, and coming out of nowhere, Holmgren just popped out of the scene and met Daniels up top with a two-hand rejection. Wiggins tried to challenge him here coming off the baseline, but as you can see, Holmgren just jumped straight up, and his length was more than enough to bother and thwart Wiggins' dunk attempt. Now, what truly makes him an elite rim protector is his ability to recover as a help defender. You can see in this play that J-Dub lost Murray on a backdoor cut, and with no big man guarding the paint, Holmgren recovers just in time to save the possession. And even though Drummond freed himself up with a spin, just check Holmgren's effort here to recover, and he just explodes straight up to block away his shot. From offense to defense, it seems as if Holmgren is turning out to be the next great unicorn in the NBA. But if you look closely, there are actually some areas of his game that he needs to develop further before he can get that recognition, starting with his conditioning and strength. When he got injured in the preseason last year, a lot of people raised some concerns about whether he could withstand the physicality in the NBA. After sitting out an entire year, he used that time to recover and bulk up. And the good thing though is that from weighing 195 pounds last season, he's now up to 208 pounds today. And so far, his hard work has been paying off as he never missed a game this season. Now, the next concern I have with Holmgren has something to do with his dribbling. I mean, I have no problem with his handles in general, but there are times that Chet would turn the ball over because he dribbles so high that it allows the smaller guards to swoop in and steal the ball. Obviously, the reason for this has something to do with his size, which is understandable, but if he can't protect the ball consistently, then it will just lead to turnovers and possibly a quick bucket on the other end. Regardless, this is just a minor problem for Chet, and I think he can easily fix this one as the season goes along. Anyway, the Thunder are shocking everyone in the NBA right now with an 11-5 record, which is good enough to take second place in the West. And I say shocking because they're not expected to be this good just yet, as they currently have the second youngest roster in the league. Their young core of SGA, J-Dub, Giddey, and Chet is the main driving force of their recent success, with Holmgren being the man in the middle who holds everything together on both ends of the floor for them. And as long as OKC keeps this core intact, we can pretty much expect this team to continuously improve and put a lot of W's in the win column as they navigate through the tough Western Conference.